Well, since she married Prince Harry, I tell you what, I've never seen someone destroy themselves so fast as Meghan Markle by being such a narcissist. It was just 2 days ago that I said she was making herself a laughing stock with the latest interview in New York Magazine, where she told the most obvious whoppers, like, someone in the royal family or the British media called her son the N-word. And she claimed that when she went to the London premiere of The Lion King, a cast member from South Africa looked at me, she said, and he's just liked. And he said, I just need you to know, when you married into this royal family, we rejoiced in the streets the same we did when Mandela was freed from prison. Oh, but how embarrassing. The only cast member who is from South Africa says, I've never met Meghan Markle. I did not attend the premiere in London. And yesterday, more embarrassment. Markle, in a new podcast of interviews with famous women, this time talked to Mariah Carey, the pop star and notorious diva, and sounded shocked when Carey dared to point out that Markle was a diva, really, too, even though she had just claimed being a diva was not something that she connected to.
Yes, the diva thing we can play into. I mean, it's not something that I connect to, but for you, it's been a huge part of your...
Give us diva moments sometimes, Megan.
Don't even act like... I give you?
Don't act like you. It's also the visual. It's the visual. A lot of it's the visual. Because
see, that's the thing. I associate it differently.
Well, I know, but let's pretend that you weren't so beautiful and didn't have the whole thing and didn't often have gorgeous ensembles. You wouldn't get as much diva stuff. I don't care. I'm like...
Daisy Cousins, lovely to see you. Seems the media has woken up to the fun of fact-checking every single thing Meghan Markle now claims. I think she's now got a name for telling fake stories. This is not going to go well for her.
No, I don't think it is, Andrew. And honestly, how she can just sit there and tell those massive porkies with a straight face is quite incredible, because these aren't just little lies. They are giant, steaming hunks of untruth. Fancy asserting that a South African cast member said to you that the people of South Africa danced on the streets like they did when Nelson Mandela was released from prison just because she married up. That is the most ridiculous thing, and she has made such a habit of doing it. I mean, in her profile she did this week for The Cut magazine, Andrew, she asserted that members of the Royal Rota were calling her children the N-word, which is the most ridiculous claim that she provided absolutely no evidence for. She said in her podcast with Serena last week that there had been a fire in baby Archie's room while they were on tour in South Africa. That was very quickly disputed by people who were familiar with it. They said the heater simply started smoking and then was unplugged. She also said in the Cut profile that if she took Archie to school in the UK, that it'd just be absolutely awful because there would be a press pack of 40 people there snapping pictures. Also not true, because there are rules about how many cameras can go to a royal child's first day of school. Andrew, it's 2 cameras are allowed, and only on the first day of school, so that was blatantly untrue. Then we get to the Oprah interview where she insisted she was an only child and would have just loved siblings growing up, but of course also untrue. She has a sibling, Samantha Markle, and that brings us to the pièce de résistance, Andrew, of her lies, which was in the Oprah interview where she insisted that a mystery racist royal had taken issue with how potentially dark baby Archie's skin color could be, which is not only totally unbelievable, but Prince Harry came on an hour later in the same interview and gave a completely different version of that lie. He said it actually happened at the start of their relationship, nowhere near the time she was pregnant with Archie. So goodness me, Andrew, I am so glad the media has cottoned onto this and is going to start fact-checking every single thing that she says, because somehow these lies are going to start coming back to bite her, and that is what she deserves.
Now, commentators used to really knock Donald Trump. So divisive, he preaches such hate. Well, you want divisive, how about taking the blowtorch to US President Joe Biden, who now says that there are millions of Trump supporters, people who wear his MAGA hat, make America great again. They're basically fascists. Biden said, what we're now seeing is either the beginning or the death knell of an extreme MAGA philosophy. It's not just Trump, it's the entire philosophy that underpins the, I'm going to say something, it's like semi-fascism. But of course, when challenged to explain what he meant by semi-fascism, Biden wouldn't.
What do you mean by semi-fascism, sir?
In December, you will...
You know what I mean.
And when his spokesman was grilled on this, she also waffled. She implied that Trump voters were, though, a menace to America's voting rights, to democracy itself.
On the semi-fascism comment, is this something we're going to hear more of, that phrase? Is it something the president's going to kind of embrace? Or is there any sense that it was, a little impromptu and it's going to turn into a kind of basket of deplorables thing that he regrets and tries to be quiet about?
Look, I was very clear when laying out and defining what MAGA Republicans have done, and you look at the definition of fascism and you think about what they're doing in attacking our democracy, what they're doing in taking away our freedoms, wanting to take away our rights, our voting rights. I mean, that is what that is. It is very clear.
Donald Trump, Nigel, I'll tell you, I was a supporter. But I worry now that he's too obsessed with himself and his enemies. Ever since the FBI raided his home to take back secret documents that he removed from his office, I don't support that raid for a moment. But Trump is totally taking the attention off Joe Biden, who's now rising in the polls, along with the Democrat Party. If Trump had just, given back those documents when he was asked, he would have kept the attention on Biden's terrible performance. Instead, he's made it, and I wonder whether it's deliberately, all about him and the FBI and, suck the oxygen out of the room. Is it time that Republicans dump Trump and chose someone like Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor? Has he passed his use-by date?
I understand what you're saying. It's always about Trump. He always dominates everything. He dominates every debate. I have to say, we don't know the truth about those documents, whether they were declassified or not. Knowing him as I do, the man is not an idiot. He really is not an idiot. I would say this. The more focus there is on Trump, the more chance he has to get his message out there. His message is that America's cities are rotting with drugs, with crime, with violence, with homelessness, and that he will be a modern-day Rudy Giuliani. Giuliani, the man that turned New York from being a dangerous city into one that was considerably safer than London. So there is a big, strong message out there. I would say this to you. To win the US presidential election, you've got to win from the Atlantic coast of Pennsylvania right through the Great Lakes, including Wisconsin. Other states like Arizona matter, of course they do. But here's my point. These are the areas of their former mining towns, their former steel towns. They are blue-collar America. Trump did well in appealing to the blue-collar. You have to ask yourself, can Ron DeSantis from Florida, has he got the same appeal?
That's a good, yeah.
With those Democrats?
Look, it's a balance. You're exactly right. Donald Trump has a record of turning out the conservative vote, but he also has a record of alienating the middle ground. And you got to balance those two factors. You're absolutely correct. It's US President Joe Biden is meanwhile trying to rush more than $1 billion US of weapons to Taiwan. He needs Congress still to approve it. Does this suggest that America is now frightened, scared, concerned that China may well invade Taiwan like Russia has invaded Ukraine?
Well, it's certainly on the mind of this administration, and it's certainly on my mind. I mean, I take President Xi at face value. I mean, he has said time and time again that Taiwan is a part of China, much as Putin said Ukraine is a part of Russia. And we had a tendency to dismiss Putin, and look what he's done. President Xi has said that he intends to resolve the Taiwan issue during his tenure, and that if it's necessary, he would use force to make certain that Taiwan is indeed a part of China. I think we take that threat seriously. He's followed it up with significant intimidation and coercion. And I don't even believe that the amount of money that we're providing to Taiwan in terms of military assistance is anywhere near what it should be. I mean, I'm being told by people in my government that there's a $14 billion backlog caused by the State Department in approving the weapon systems that Taiwan wants, because the State Department of the United States doesn't agree with what weapon systems Taiwan desires. We had this problem at the beginning of the Ukraine conflict, and finally we recognized that sort of the Ukrainians know more than what the United States does in terms of what they need. And I certainly, to be repeating that problem again with Taiwan is pretty outrageous. We need to provide significant more arms to prevent the conflict from having, and also give the Taiwans some assistance in training and let them train with our allies and partners in the region, all designed to prevent the conflict from taking place.
And here he is. Hey,
how are you?
How you going? Good to see you.
Hello, Australia. Nice to see you.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Nice to see you. I'm here in your country. Whatever you need from me, you just let me know.
Fantastic.
Appreciate you guys. Congratulations to you guys. And everyone knows Shaq loves Australia. All right?
Awesome.
Thank you. All right, I'll see you soon.
Thanks, mate. Have a good time.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. All right. I need that government clearance, too.
That'll be done.
Here's how the Prime Minister then explained why he gave his briefing to an American sportsman and joker.
And we want to engage with people who can connect with young people in particular, but with all sections of our society. Shaq has that record of, particularly when it comes to bringing people together of different backgrounds.
Of different backgrounds. So there's a hint that I'll get to. But the question really is, why Shaquille O'Neal? Why did the Prime Minister and the Minister for Indigenous Australians grant this man an audience with them and a briefing and a press conference that they would not offer to 99.99% of the Australians who will be affected by Labor's plan? Why O'Neal? It's not as if this man, nice as he may be, is a great moral example to us all, given that he actually promotes online betting, which particularly hurts the poor.
Never miss my weekly massage. And I never miss having a bet on Friday Night Footy.
So again, why Shaquille O'Neal? It's also not that he's so super smart that we should look to this man for his insights. After all, he seemed unsure last week if the world is round or actually flat.
I did hear a podcast once where you were fighting with someone claiming that you thought the world was flat and there's no way it was round. Was that a joke or is that what you think?
It's a theory. For example, I flew 20 hours a day. Not once did I go this way.
You didn't
all straight. I didn't go, you didn't
tip over an edge. Yeah.
No, I didn't tip over. I didn't go upside down. So, but it's just a theory.
But you can fly to Australia.
Conspiracy theory.
I'll ask again, why Shaquille O'Neal? It's certainly not that he himself is Indigenous and so therefore has some, I don't know, special insight. I mean, he's from America, and the Indigenous people there, American Indian, Native American, not black. So, what excuse are we left with? Albanese and Linda Burney clearly gave O'Neal this royal treatment above any other visiting celebrity for one reason only. He's black. If he were white, do you think he'd be trotted out by Albanese? Look, here's a rich, white sports legend who promotes gambling, doesn't know if the earth is flat or round, but he does also support our race-based parliament. Do you think that would happen? Not a chance.